Hey everyone, this is Jake Crew and welcome back to Blind Faith. This week I'd like to talk about human nature, kind of our idea of trading human life for success. I think that many of us don't picture some of our actions to be risking other people's lives, and all of a sudden I just kind of thought about it and realized that there's a lot of times we pick convenience over protecting lives. And not that we need to change necessarily with some of the things we do, but I think like thinking about it, it made me realize that we have to be a little bit more careful with our inventions and stuff, because our inventions we create most of them are really good. They help us do a lot of things, but I feel like there's also ones that, although they're good, they also add stress. They make it so our lives are more difficult, almost, even though they're easier. And in the end, they actually separate us from God, because they make it too convenient to do this, too convenient to do that. And then we're not realizing how difficult things are, and because everything's a lot easier for us, so we don't have that reason. Sometimes some people don't have that reason to reach out for God and ask God for help in certain situations, because it's something that now we're like, oh, it's really easy. Where maybe 100 years ago, we'd be praying, God, please help this work. Please help me be able to contact this person. Please help me do this. Please help me do that. And I feel like that we'd been in contact with God a lot more. So I look at some of the modern conveniences. There's a lot of weapons of war and stuff that I wish were not invented, like cannons, bombs, stuff like that, because quite honestly, it creates mass destruction, and God does not want us to mass destroy one another. He wants us to try loving one another, whether the reasoning is valid or not. Sometimes there's a reason. Like I look at Hitler with the concentration camps. He was a really bad person, a really bad thing to do, and I'd say that the attack was justified. But I look at some of the attacks, because sometimes I feel like war is more of like a politic game, which sometimes politics is nothing but lies and deceit and stuff. That one country says another country did this to them, so they've got the right to do this to them. The other country is saying, I didn't do that, but now that you did that to me, I've got the right to do this. And that's the next thing you know, it's full of war. And if you sit down and look at it, what's the war over? One country got irritated with the other country slightly. And I think that God does not want us to make excuses for taking other people's lives. I think that sometimes we just find convenient excuse and roll with it. And then, but I want to focus a lot more on the modern inventions we rely on in our daily lives, not so much some like inventions that soldiers work with and government works with and stuff, because that's not something that you or I control completely. But I look at, and all these inventions, I'm not pushing us not to use them, but I'm kind of pushing us to be more aware of the cost, and be aware of the benefits as well, because there are benefits in the inventions I want to bring up today. There's many inventions, and I will point out a couple that it's questionable whether it's a draw between benefit versus loss, but then it's also just basically telling us to be more careful when we're using them. So the first thing I want to bring up is a vehicle, because vehicles are great. They move us places faster. Some people like to go really fast in them, and some people think that they can push a little bit too much and leave last second and still get to their destination. I'm not saying not to use vehicles, because vehicles are so important right now to us, but if I think about it, there are so many car accidents that people are injured, people are killed, and I don't think we really think of that day to day, that our choice to use the vehicles is kind of like a trade-off for that human life. But it kind of is, because not so much our choice to use the vehicle, but our choice of how to use the vehicle. We need to be more careful. We need to slow down more. We have to look at, because quite honestly, if we leave 10 minutes earlier, if we need to be somewhere in 10 minutes instead of leaving, let's say if I've got to be somewhere at 10, instead of leaving at 9:50 when it's a 10-minute drive, maybe leave at 9:40, leave at 9:35 or even 9:30, because then it gives you plenty of time that you can go a little bit slower, not being quite as much of a rush. And I don't remember exact stats, so I'm not going to tell you the statistics of everything, but I look at, even if you slow down your vehicle a certain amount, like let's say if the speed limit usually would be 70, if that would be dropped down to 50, I don't know how much higher the chances of surviving a car accident, but I would say it's significantly higher. You got a little more reaction time, because I quite honestly, I don't think God made our bodies to be processing speeds of 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. I think we're capable of it. He made it so we're capable of processing it, but it's not the ideal speed for us. It's not speed we're really supposed to be moving. And also, driving tired and stuff, if we can help it, we need to work on making sure we get good rest before driving. I know some people can't. Some people work nights or whatever and drive home tired. But setting up rides and stuff. Because quite honestly, I look at how many times we look at things and we go, yeah, I'll make it. It's not a big problem. Even drinking and driving, there's so many people, police are really locking down on it now. There's so many people, especially a while ago, like a long time ago. Not a long time ago, because, but 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, farther back you look, less the police locked down on it. But drinking and driving, people sometimes think that they are invincible. They think that, yeah, I can make it home. And maybe you won't be harmed, but think about the person that is driving next to you. Think about the person that is crossing your path on the way home, because it is a fact that it seems like drunk drivers survive the crash, while the person they in a crash with does not. And I look at it, and is it really that important to save a little bit of money to not get a cab, or not have someone come and pick you up? Is it really that important to save that tad bit of money, save that little bit of time for the other person, save that little bit of time for you even, to drive home drunk, when you're putting human lives at risk, when you're putting the trade-off as other people's lives? And that's kind of like one of the things I look at, is we have so many situations that if we are a little bit smarter with using our vehicles, if we weren't quite as much of a rush, especially where I live with the icy roads and stuff. I think a lot of people know what I'm talking about. Some people think that when it's icy roads, you can still leave at the same time as if it was smooth tar roads. You take off and slip and slide and get in a car accident. And you look at how many injuries and how many deaths are created because of A, drunk driving, or B, actually I've got three reasons, but A, drunk driving, B, being in too much of a hurry, or C, not being focused on the road, which I'm going to hit next, right after I finish this part. But there's so many car accidents caused by that you're in a hurry and stuff. And sometimes an accident's an accident. Sometimes you both screw up slightly. Sometimes even going at a slow pace, you slide on the ice and get in a car accident. That's happened to me before. Someone slid into us before. Nobody was hurt. And that's the thing we have to look at, is if you're going actually slow on the ice, if you're not going real fast, even if you get in a car accident, it's probably not going to be life-threatening. It's probably not going to be that even major injuries. Like our vehicle had some damage. I think the other person's vehicle had some damage. But what is that damage compared to trying to go fast and then slipping, still getting a car accident, but also injuring or killing someone? Because that's kind of the trade-off. And I look at that with all of our speed, and I think that kind of separates us from the reality of what's at stake. We are kind of taking vehicles for granted, that they're good, and there's a lot of good qualities. Like an ambulance has to rush people to the hospital at high speeds, and that makes sense, and that's saving a lot of lives. But then some of us have to feel like we have to go fast too, and get in a car accident, and we're the one in the ambulance. We're the one injured or killed. And that's the other thing that I've noticed in recent years that kind of saddens me, is vehicles when I was a lot younger, like 5, 6, 7, I don't remember it being a big issue about pulling off to the side when you heard sirens. When there's an ambulance coming, fire truck coming, police coming, a lot of people pull off. Now, vehicles don't pull off anymore. Vehicles continue moving. They try to speed up. And that is the wrong move, because I look at how many situations that those people are going to rescue a life. And then if you are not pulling out of the way, you are slowing down that effort. You are slowing down and putting people's lives at risk. So I think that if we're going a little bit slower, though, not quite as much of a hurry, then we'll notice the sirens, pull off to the side, and actually have time to sit there and let the ambulance go by. There's actually one story I have that kind of shows you this happened. Luckily, again, nobody was hurt. Luckily, again, it wasn't a huge issue. But we used to have a corn burner, basically a fireplace in our basement, and it started on fire inside of it. My mom called the fire department, and my dad was at work and decided to leave and come home to help. He was driving home, and he seen the fire trucks going to our house, but no vehicles were not pulling out of the way. The fire trucks were being slowed down. My dad said that was one of the most panicky moments, because he's driving. He's like, come on, get out of the way. It's putting my family's life at risk. And I think we have to slow down and look at and go, okay, if this was my family member that is at risk, if this was my friend at risk, because all of us are basically family members. We have to remember that we're all God's children. We all are important. And to refuse to get out of the way of a fire truck is basically saying my friend does not matter, my family member does not matter, my brother does not matter, my sister does not matter. It's basically saying that, and I understand, again, sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes you don't notice sirens right away, but as soon as you notice them, you need to get out of the way. And that's the thing that I think with how we've grown up with the vehicles and stuff, that's become too convenient, that we're like ignoring and going, okay, yeah, we can keep driving. We can go a little bit faster. There's a fire truck coming, but we can just speed up and it's not a big deal, and then I won't be late. And I look at how many times we kind of make that trade of not being late is worth putting human lives at risk. This kind of moves me to the next topic of cell phones and actually all technology. Again, technology is great. Without technology, I would really struggle in the world, because I'm blind and I use a lot of technology. I use a computer. My phone has voiceover. My computer has a speaking part on it, so it can tell me what's on the screen. Without my computer, without my phone, without my Braille note, which I can type in on Braille and it can print out and print, the world would be a lot harder for me. And that's the thing. Technology has its place, but I think that sometimes we make our lives more difficult with technology. we text. Call. We don't say what we mean through a text. We do not say what we would actually say in real life. We do not say sometimes the right thing. And I think those face-to-face meetings are really important for our welfare and health, mental well-being. And also, it prevents a lot of misunderstandings when it's face-to-face. When it's face-to-face, you understand a lot better. And then that gets me the other part of cell phones, that a lot of people think it's very important to use their cell phone while they're driving. They think it's important to... They think that they can drive with one eye on the road or no eyes on the road while looking on their phone. Let me tell you, I'm completely blind, and I would not trust myself driving on the road. And so that's basically what you're doing. Even if you're glancing up, even if you got one eye on the road, your brain's not meant to process 70 miles an hour while looking at a phone. It's not... I actually have heard an article before that nobody can multitask. It's whether you can just switch from one task to another really quick. Which driving using your phone, you'd have to multitask. Then you'd not be able to do both. And so if you're only good at switching from one task to another, like this article suggested, then you look down at your phone, you're focused on your phone, now you see something on the road and you have to flip over to the road quick. And one of the times you're going to miss something on the road because you're not truly multitasking, you're just switching from one task to another. And I think it's that same thing that it's so important to send a text, to call somebody, to sometimes calling, because they have those car phones now, and I don't think calling's the end of the world, because it's like having another person in the vehicle with you sometimes that keeps you awake and stuff, but mainly like the using the phone, texting, looking at the weather, looking at your phone, looking at what came in, Snapchats, all that kind of stuff. That people are always looking on their screen like, oh, what's going on? Now so they peek back up at the road and they're like, oh my goodness. I mean, if this is an example I learned in school, if you are going, I believe it was 60 miles an hour, and you sneeze, your eyes automatically close. By the time they get open again, 1 second later, you've traveled I think it was 60 feet. And think about what could happen in 60 feet if the road curves slightly or that. And the sneeze is thing you can't help, but on the phone, let's say if you look down at it for 10 seconds, that's 600 feet. And just so on and so forth. That even 5-10 seconds, you look at how far you've traveled, 600 feet, that's over 1/10 of a mile then. If I'm doing my math right, I'm trying to do quick math in my mind. And I can't remember exactly how many feet are in a mile, but it's 600 feet significant also when you look at it that way, that you're like, oh my goodness, I traveled a long ways. Imagine walking there, running that. That's how much time maybe you spent looking at your phone and thinking, oh, it'll be okay. And again, it's putting human lives at risk to send that text. It's putting your own life at risk to send that text, to check the sports app and stuff. And I think that we have to start slowing down our lives a little bit and realizing that this isn't what God wants for us. God doesn't want us to be always in a huge hurry. God wants us to slow down a little bit. Enjoy the flowers, as they say. Enjoy life a little bit. Because right now, when we're going so fast, a lot of us don't actually truly enjoy the things we should, because if we're spending time with family, our minds are ranging out. What do I have to do tomorrow? Okay, I've got this. And our minds are going 100 miles an hour trying to flip through. I've got a really busy day tomorrow. Maybe I should just start tonight. And stuff like that. And then you're like, I'll think about tonight and try planning out. And then you're not truly there with your family. I think we've got to get a lot better at setting things aside and actually being in the present. Not hurrying too much to get anywhere, especially driving. I mean, walking, usually hurrying is okay, as long as you're not looking at your phone. When people, especially on my college campus, have been looking at their phones and again aren't extremely respectful because they kind of let the door slam. Like there's a couple times the door almost slammed on my guide dog's head and stuff because people are distracted and just hurrying through quick and swinging the door open shut. My guide dog doesn't understand that. She's like, oh, the door's open, starts sticking her head through us, and boom, the door starts slamming on her head. And both times I've been lucky enough that I just happen to have my hand out there and I catch it. But at the same time, it just shows that I think we're in way too much of a hurry. So the message for this week is slow down and realize what your hurrying is doing, that not only is it being inconsiderate of others sometimes, but it's also putting human life at risk, risking injury of yourself and other people. And just slow down a little bit. This is Jake Crew, Blind Faith. Thanks for watching. See y'all next week.